everybody, good morning. How are you guys doing? Well, please come on out. You heard Stephen Gould, who is the Chief Marketing Officer, head of the IBM ecosystem, our partner at IBM Watson. Amir, who heads our AI XPRIZE. And let me just open with a couple of minutes of conversation. I just want to make sure you're all aware of what the XPRIZE is. Hopefully you all are, but what we do is we find a problem that we want to solve. It is sort of the mirror image, if you would, of Singularity University. XPRIZE sort of creates these targets, and we say, I don't care where you're from, where you went to school, what you've ever done before. If you solve this problem, you win. And we create a set of rules, and we invite teams from around the world to register and then compete. And we've launched now over $134 million worth of prizes. We have another $100 million worth of X prizes on deck. And we launch typically 3 or 4 X prizes a year. Our first one was for spaceflight. We've done one for 100 mile per gallon cars, for oil spill cleanup, for the tricorder, for global education. And so we're always looking at places that we think are X prizable. And just this past year on the TED stage, I'm very proud that we announced a $5 million X Prize underwritten by our friends at IBM Watson in the field of artificial intelligence. So why did we launch this prize? I mean, AI is clearly doing a lot of progress on its own. Does it even need a prize? One of the things that we're clear about is that we're tired of the dystopian conversation around artificial intelligence, right? And I have a number of my friends who are out there, and I say to them, you've watched Terminator too many times. But the fact of the matter is, our belief is that artificial intelligence is one of the most important tools ever created by humans to help solve our world's biggest problems. And our goal is to see AI in collaboration with humans working on solving the grandest challenges of our time. And that's the mission of this. And while our friends at IBM Watson are funding this purse, to be very clear, they have no requirement that any teams use Watson. This is an open ecosystem. Companies from around the world, from Google, from Facebook, from Apple, from Uber, from wherever can compete in this, use whatever AI platform they want. This is a public good that IBM Watson is doing to change the global conversation. And so if you're in the room and you are starting an AI company, involved in an AI company, know an AI company, this is a chance to give yourself a platform that will allow you to really focus on using AI in the service of solving humanity's grandest challenges. So with that, allow me now to turn it over to Stephen. Stephen, thank you, pal.
Thanks, Peter. Good morning. How many here have heard of Watson? Great, let's go to lunch. So I want to take just a few minutes this morning and share not about Watson, but what's really happening in technology at large. And what's really interesting, if you look at moonshots, something that I think we're all pretty familiar with, they're actually not that new. If you go back in time, you would have seen, certainly the printing press, at one time considered to be a moonshot. Exploration of the stars, equally as impressive and aspirational of a goal. And certainly the flight and the Wright brothers and the work that they did aspirationally back then was a huge moonshot. And of course, the one of our time that I think we all relate to most prominently is that first step on the moon. But I think today it's a little bit different. I think we're going to see AI play a very formidable role in things like the democratization of health or the democratization of education. But for the next few minutes, I don't want to just talk about AI in the context of artificial intelligence. That's typically what we read about. It's hard not to pick up a periodical, a newspaper, a blog, and read something fantastical about artificial intelligence. But for this morning, I really want to think about this slightly different in the context of augmented intelligence and ground this conversation and the contest in something very purposeful. Now, man's form is pretty impressive to begin with. The average individual can bench press about 135 pounds, can deadlift 150. But equally as impressive is the patent filed in 1839 for the steam shovel, that a single scoop could lift 16,000 pounds. The human eye is second only in complexity to the brain. Over 2 million moving parts. On a clear day, we as individuals can see about 3 miles. But augment that with something like the Hubble telescope, and we can see out 15 billion light years. And it's not just the physical forms that we seek to augment, it's the cognitive as well. Okay, so this is the interactive part of today. I'm going to do a little bit of an exercise here. Stick with me. You ready? Here we go. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Everybody with me? We got 32. Pretty easy. Now let's just add a small twist to this exercise, this cognitive exercise. 2 times 4 times 8 times 16 times 32. How many here came up with 32,768? You realize just by adding a little bit of complexity to the problem that it quickly overwhelms the human mind. You can see why we have been so fascinating at augmenting our human frailties, our human limitations and capabilities. That's what this prize is about. It's about pushing us to the next level, to the next limit, if you will. I can remember back to when my father brought home the first family calculator. It was the late 70s. It was a Casio. It was $400 and it came in this really nice vinyl case. And I wasn't allowed to touch it initially. Right? It was a mechanical marvel that would do computations out to 8 digits very agilely and precision-based mathematics, 4 basic functions. It changed the way, certainly, my father performed his vocation. Candidly, it changed the way I did homework from then on out as well. The most powerful computer in the world today, in China, is capable of computing at 93 petaflops. Now, if you're like me, that doesn't really have a whole lot of context. So I did a little bit of calculation. Sorry about that. We did a little bit of calculation on that. Turns out that's 1,000 trillion floating points calculations per second. Much easier to understand, right? Well, how about if I put it in this context? That's about 500 million iPads stacked on top of each other, which would extend over 2,700 miles. So imagine the compute power and how we have augmented our own computational limitations. In 1964, Thomas J. Watson, Jr., introduced the IBM System 360. It ultimately ushered in what is today the computer revolution, much the way the steam engine I described earlier ushered in the industrial revolution. And today what we're seeing and bearing witness to is really the information revolution, how data is becoming the new economy. And not surprising, we're seeing huge investments and trends in AI. Patents are up over 3x. Venture investments in the last 5 years have grown 7-fold. One of the main researchers in the category, IDC, estimates that this market itself from a nascent stage today will be $33 billion by 2018. But more impressively, they believe that direct and indirect spend on AI will be about $2 trillion by 2025. That number eclipses the rate of growth for social, mobile, cloud, internet. It is the fastest growing segment. It is one of the reasons we are underwriting and encouraging this particular XPRIZE. We see the potential of transformation and disruption and what this truly can mean to our society. Now, when we think about AI, because it's been around as a term for a lot of years, we think about it in the context of 4 very important characteristics. We think about it in the context of systems that understand. They actually know content and context, can comprehend the way you and I would. These are systems that are able to reason. Think back to psychology class. Remember deductive reasoning. Socrates was a man, all men are mortal, therefore Socrates is mortal. We deduce that from reason. In the case of Watson and its original public debut on Jeopardy, it was predominantly doing deductive reasoning with a little bit of inductive reasoning, so inferencing, if you will. But the next generation of AI will do abductive and adaptive reasoning. Think about systems that are actually capable of saying, did you mean this, right, in the proper context and understanding. Third, and probably most important to AI, is this notion of learning. These are systems that get progressively smarter with each use, interaction, and new piece of information. So today, if I want a system to adapt, I have to stop it, I have to recode, reprogram, reset the rules and the logic, and then restart. That's a lot of effort, right? With these systems, they progressively learn and adapt over the course of time. Turns out that that's really in line and representative of the way most of us work every day, right? Doctors have to make decisions about disease and about treatments, but there's not a single right answer. There's a whole series of possibilities. These systems are probabilistic in nature, not deterministic. Think about financial planning. Each of us has different goals as to how we want and where we want to retire. There isn't one right answer. There isn't a rule that's going to drive and derive that logic of what we should do for retirement. These systems can adapt and personalize, right, to us as individuals. And finally, these systems interact in a way that's intuitive and easy to understand, in natural language. Turns out that's really, really hard, but important. Why is it so hard? Well, this isn't about translation. This isn't about speech recognition. This isn't about speech synthesis. This is actually about understanding the nuance, the idiosyncrasies, the colloquialisms, right, that impart in language. For example, we say things that are nonsensical. Why would a house ever burn up to burn down? Makes no sense, right? Noses shouldn't run and feet shouldn't smell, if you look at the classic definition. And of course, if vegetarians eat vegetables, what do humanitarians eat? So you start to think about natural language as something that's really, really hard. You put these things together to understand, reason, learn, and interact, and now you have something truly interesting, ready to take on some really societal important problems and tasks, let alone improve our daily lives. Now, all of this, and for a long time, I know we've heard about it, right, is dependent upon what's happening in the world of data. But yet the reality is we're just getting started. Yes, 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years, and yes, 80% or more of that is unstructured. It's as images and graphs and text, things that conventional computing systems would never use. We used to call it dark data. But when you look at the growth, the exponential growth that's going to happen over the next couple of years, it is amazing what we will be able to mine and extract in new insights. This is the work the teams in the XPRIZE are going to be doing. They're going to be leveraging, harnessing, and putting to work this information to get to a very different place in a very different state. So we're already started in the market. This isn't completely greenfield. We've been doing some important work both as IBM and with our partners. Many of you have read articles about the work we have done in health. We've been working with institutions the stature of Memorial Sloan Kettering and MD Anderson and Mayo Clinic in helping oncologists better identify treatment patterns and understanding the clinical data that's available to make important decisions. Just a couple of weeks ago, University of Tokyo, who's applying Watson to genomic data, announced that AI saved its first life ever. There was a patient diagnosed with leukemia. Unfortunately, they couldn't pinpoint the type. And Watson, within 10 minutes, was able to assist the physician with proper identification. That's a life changer. Baylor School of Medicine a year ago published a retrospective study and showed how Watson was able to replicate in weeks what it took researchers a decade to do. It was able to find the important proteins that suppress or ignite tumor growth. And that's critical, obviously, to those afflicted with a variety of diseases. What does this mean to research? What does this mean to drug discovery and drug repurposing and drug efficacy? What does it mean to other markets? What does it mean to financial planning, reading 10Qs and 10Ks and annual reports and making sense of the data? What does it mean to legal, looking through cases and precedent and rulings? We find this pattern playing out over and over and over again. And next month, we will introduce, in cooperation and collaboration with Medtronic, a diabetic app that we announced in January that will help those 400 million individuals afflicted with diabetes anticipate a hypoglycemic event. Those that understand diabetes will appreciate that is a life-threatening condition. Even more important, diabetes accounts for every $8 that are spent in healthcare today. It is beyond a chronic condition. It's epidemic proportion. CDC reports 1 in 3 Americans will have type 2 diabetes by the year 2050. This is a great way to begin to deal with that treatment, deal with that affliction, and give people back their day-to-day lives. But it's not just health where AI is being applied. We see it out on oil rigs and platforms where engineers are taking 30 years of history and tens of thousands of documents, right, and collating it down to something that's actually actionable. We see it in law firms in the area of research. And one of the new applications that personally was one of my favorites came out of Georgia Tech. Professor Gold there decided to replace one of his 9 human TAs with a TA named Jill Watson. And Jill Watson, over the course of the semester, would answer emails that came in from students. And what was interesting is that nobody caught on to this. At the very end of the class of 300 people, the professor shared with them that Jill Watson was actually an AI. And the funniest part, one of the students said, oh, we knew that. He said, really? Then why is it that you nominated for Teacher of the Year? So it's really interesting to see where this technology is coming to fruition. I'm even more interested over the course of the AI competition to see how people will bring this to life, where they will apply it. And it's not just about the traditional markets. We're seeing this today in robotics. You can walk into Hilton's in Virginia and experience an interaction with a cognitive concierge, a robot able to advise you on restaurant selection and local events and to-dos. We see this showing up in Pokemon. They're using our Watson AI visionary services to identify the elusive Pokemons. So where people are taking and applying this technology is truly amazing. And as part of the XPRIZE, our platform is completely open. All of our services are readily available, are publishable. Anybody can sign up. Anybody can use them for non-commercial purposes, effectively free of charge. And so we're really excited where this will go. And this conversation certainly wouldn't be complete without mentioning the work we're doing in autonomous driving. I'm fascinated by this particular vehicle called Ollie for mass transportation that's now being deployed in Pittsburgh and will debut it later this year at the World of Watson in Las Vegas. But it's not just doctors and lawyers and bankers and engineers that ultimately are able to put to work all of this information. We're finding the creative, this is a left brain and a right brain exercise, are applying AI as well. Chefs are coming up with new combinations of recipes, based on Watson's ability to analyze a quintillion combinations. Just recently in May, we debuted Cognitive Fashion with Marquesa, who's a high-end designer. I'm wearing it today, by the way, thank you. And Georgina Chapman. And what we did is we had Watson work with the designers to not only pick the fabrics and the colors, but actually then they embedded light-emitting diodes. So as the social sentiment and mood changed and tone changed around the Met Gala, the dress would actually change colors. So people began to realize that you can capture the mood of a market very quickly. You can do things in fashion or in cooking that you could never do before.
We really felt that Watson just enabled us to do our job better.
We fed hundreds of images of Marquesa dresses into Watson, and Watson came back and really gave us guidelines of which direction we should go in, which color stories we should take, and it had been segregated into several different emotions.
Seeing one of our dresses that was able to respond and communicate with everyone out there was really something we never thought we'd ever see.
So it's amazing what Marquesa was able to do. Let me just wrap really quickly to say AI is here. It's grounded in real applications within real industries and professions. It's at work, but ultimately it's up to the community. It's up to you to encourage others to come forward as part of this competition to really push the boundaries of the types of problems we can solve. Amir?
Thank you, Stephen. Welcome, everyone. Talking about the AI XPRIZE. As Peter mentioned, XPRIZE is the organization that enables moonshot, that enables making the impossible possible. And the connection with AI, as you heard in the past day or two. So the IBM Watson-sponsored AI XPRIZE is probably the largest AI competition that is happening right now. I'm going to explain to you why it is the largest one and why it's important for humanity and why it's important for all of us to be part of it. The prize is organized as, obviously, there's a $5 million prize, which is given to the winner. But this is a global prize, meaning that people are applying from and participating from all countries, for all industries, from all academic and research background. This prize is an open challenge. Unlike many other prizes that defines for the winners a specific goal to target, this prize is structured as a way that you come up with your own challenge, whether it's dealing with health issues, whether it is better legal aspect, whether it is better manufacturing, or going to space, or mapping the ocean floors, whatever the challenge you may think you can work on and use AI for, has its place in this competition, so it's therefore open. The challenge is looking at addressing humanity's largest problems, and we heard a few of them, and you've heard the global grand challenges yesterday, and you're going to hear a few more today, but the world is facing a number of opportunities that we call grand challenges, and the opportunities are obviously in health, in climate, in education, in making the world a better place. And for that, we need applications that are going to be addressing some of those problems so we can move to eradicate some of those bigger challenges. The prize also emphasizes AI-human collaboration. There is this narrative that AI can compete with humans, AI could be better than us, but we're not going after that narrative. We're trying to showcase that AI actually, as Stephen put it, can augment our intelligence, can help us make better decisions, can be better. So how can we facilitate solutions that showcases AI and human collaboration? And it's also a global participation. So what global participation means is that we're creating a framework, not only to welcome every participant, every teams to compete for AI-based solutions to solve major problems, but also we're providing support such as access to mentors, access to data sets, access to expertise, so teams can form over the course of 3.5 years and tackle those challenges. Obviously, we have the support of IBM as a sponsor, but we're already seeing a number of other foundations, governments, cities providing us with data sets, providing us with expertise, and wanting to join this global challenge. We're all going after innovation, and as you can see in this slide, the word AI as artificial intelligence or augmented intelligence appears in it. So think of all the words in the vocabulary that you're going to be using every day which have an A and I identified. There's as many opportunities for you to participate in a challenge, and what we do with that. So, as Daniel Kraft mentioned before, talking about AI and health, how AI will change the way we heal the world. That's one angle to tackle. But if you go further than that, look at every possibilities and every opportunities where you can put an A and an I in a problem that you identify and a big opportunity that you can tackle. So this is a huge challenge. We're extremely excited and having IBM on our side to push and give the prize, but also welcoming every participation globally from everywhere, not only teams that will participate and enter as a competitor, but also all the others that will try and decide to part and to help a team go further, make the applications better, and reach out that momentum. The prize is a 3.5-year prize. We are going to have eliminations every year. The prize is open right now for registration until December 1st. Every year there are going to be some milestones to be hit, and the 3 finalists will be on the TED stage during TED 2020 to fight for all of us to decide and see who's the final winner. So, in conclusion, the question is that how can we help shape a better future through AI and machine collaboration? It's not about machine or human, it's about how we can join forces and use machines and intelligence, every breakthrough that we can master and control to make us first be better humans, but also increase our global intelligence. Please, for more information, go to ai.xprize.org and obviously open for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Two points I want to make. The takeaway here is registration is open. If you are working in AI right now on an AI company, an AI startup, this is an additive $5 million of potential and a global stage to show your stuff. That's the first thing. So consider registering, consider going and checking out the rules. The second thing is I want to just clear one thing up. Very importantly, this is not a Watson competition, right? Any AI on any platform, any company in the world can compete. IBM Watson is doing this philanthropically to really help move the industry forward. All right. So make sure that meme gets out there because there's some confusion about that. Anyway, an honor, a pleasure. We're out of time. Please see Amir, Stephen, myself if you have any other questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.